Welcome to Tuesday, February 2nd, our NHL DFS puck drop. Hopefully, you tuned in on Monday. Pastrnak coming back, just roaring back for the Bruins here, and just having a phenomenal game. And I think Bergeron was a little bit of a letdown relative to the rest of the studs on the team, but overall, a really good slate. So let's get into this slate. I think, as you can see on the cover, we have Leon Draisaitl, and I think just the Oilers in general are going to be really popular due to the massive output in the last game. But I will say, this is, I think, one of the first slates. I've played NHL DFS now for a while that we've had a 9K player. I could definitely be wrong, but it's been a long time since I've seen a 9K player, and that's what Connor McDavid has today. So we'll talk about that and see if that is something that's worth paying for or not. So let's get into the slate. Obviously, it's no real surprise here that the Oilers come in as the highest favorite, the biggest total, highest game total. Now, you can't just like automatically assume that something similar to that is going to happen. Now, that was definitely an outlier performance, but they are going to be in the best position to repeat something close to that again. So, Canadians at 3.4 implied total just blitzed Vancouver again tonight. The Blues against Arizona. I really kind of like both sides of that game. I think just both teams are kind of underpriced. Hurricanes, I really like. I think there's some nice cheap value plays that if you get off of the chalky Oilers, I like the Hurricane spot. Like the Hurricanes are just due to blow up one of these games instead of just continuing to put 30, 35 shots on goal and come up with one goal. So the high danger chances will eventually turn into goals. So the Avalanche, right now, with no real news on Nathan McKinnon, as I'll get to like in the center position, their total is pretty low. I think if McKinnon is just like automatically ruled in, I think that total, almost probably goes under just right underneath the Oilers, or similar to that Canadians range. But the Avalanche are already grading out at minus 175 favorite, so maybe some they have an inkling that he'll play, but just not sure. So Hurricanes minus 190 against Chicago in a great matchup, and obviously the Oilers minus 220 against Ottawa. Ottawa and Edmonton a 6.5 implied total. Montreal and Vancouver a 6 implied total or game total, and then Winnipeg and Calgary. And I think the next one down that was like just off of the 6 range is the Hurricanes and Chicago. So let's get into the slate. Like I said, Connor McDavid is 9,000. I don't think there is amazing value on the slate, but obviously, if Leon Draisaitl has whatever 6 assists and McDavid has 50 some whatever points they had, you don't need value, right? Like you can have bad value and that pays off. So, but I do think that if you were to build with McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nugent Hopkins, you're the rest of your lineup is duds and just don't have much to it. So a decision point. McDavid will be extremely popular. I think he'll be more popular than Draisaitl per usual. Even though Draisaitl is amazing as well, he just doesn't have the McDavid name. McDavid obviously is phenomenal. So those two, let's not spend a lot of time on those two. Nathan McKinnon, if he is in, I think it will be in play again. Was having a great game, 2 assists and 3-4 shots on goal before getting injured. Did not play the third period against the Wild. Sebastian Aho, though, 6.4 in a phenomenal matchup against Chicago. I think he's underpriced. I think he is a great mid-range option here because I think just in general, I think him, Trocheck, you'll see Stahl down here at 3.6. I think Carolina in general is just a little bit underpriced for this matchup. We had Niederreiter, who had an awesome game in the last game, so he is skating on that top line with Aho and their other stud winger that I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. We'll get to him at the winger position. But Trocheck, 5.8K, is getting top power play time. In the past, last year, he wasn't. So he was getting like second line, and then he was like, getting second line, second power play, and he just wasn't getting enough minutes for his talent. We know in Florida he crushed, and he just wasn't getting that last year. But now we have seen him get an increased role this year, which is phenomenal to see. Suzuki continues to just be on a tear. I think had a goal like 3 minutes into the game tonight. 5,500 is a great value for him. Eriksson Ek continues to be dominant and is, showing that, like 5 to 10 point floor, but has upside. So really like him. Kotkaniemi, 4.3K. If Montreal is going to blitz, Vancouver again, I think he is in another great spot to be part of that. I really like Christian Dvorak's price here against the Blues. Going a little bit contrarian with including some Coyotes here. I'll talk about Garland at the winger position. I would watch their lines. They were like kind of put in a blender in the last practice and then spit out where every guy you want to target is not correlated, like Dvorak's not with Garland. Kessel's on the third line with Brassard, and it's kind of a mess. So I almost, if it's going to stay like that, I'm okay with these guys as one-offs, but not something I want to correlate with. Lowry for Winnipeg's been playing really well at 4.1, and then Jordan Staal getting top power play time with Carolina is some really nice value here at the center position. So let's get to the winger position. Nugent Hopkins 7.9, probably the biggest price tag he will get all season, which I think that's the case for all these guys just coming off of this type of game. Mikko Rantanen, I probably would only consider him here if McKinnon plays and just play them with a stack. Like him and Landeskog did not look good without McKinnon. Kadri's fine, and Kadri would actually probably be a decent mid-range play if he just gets bumped up to the first line if McKinnon doesn't play and then plays with them. But if they put in like Comfer or somebody else not really that great at the top line, maybe they even split up Rantanen and Landeskog if McKinnon is out, which could happen, where like Landeskog plays on the second line like he's done in the past. So just be watching for Colorado's morning skate, because that will probably tell a lot about what will happen tonight. Brady Tkachuk was also a benefit of the massive outscoring game total, 11, 12 goals, whatever it ended up being with Oilers and the Senators. But even before that, he's proven that he can easily put up double digits and push 20 points in any slate. So I think it was going to be hard to get to him here if you just prefer to go up to Nugent Hopkins, but I think he's a nice GPP leverage pivot to a pay up option like him. Kyle Connor, with another massive game tonight against Calgary. I think, people got off him a couple games because he had a couple duds, but I think he can definitely bounce back. And he did tonight. Here you go. Andrei Sanechkov. That's my best. Let's just call him Andre, right? 6,300 skating on the top line with Aho, skating on the first power play unit. Obviously loves to shoot the puck. So 6.3 and you got Aho at 6.4. Like that's a great mid-range pairing. And then you could even use Nino down here at 4.1 as a even strength stack, or you could use Dougie Hamilton as a power play stack, use Jordan Staal. You have a lot of options here. So Johnny Gaudreau showed up with a goal tonight. Love Johnny Hockey at 6K. Gallagher also continues just to pour shots on net. He's always going to be a cash play when he's priced under 6K. And Garland is somebody that I also really like here. He's just showing the shot totals in his last two games. He's got 11 shots on goal. He's seen like 19 to 20 minutes of ice time. So he's just kind of taking on that bigger role for them. But like I said, I'd prefer if like him and Dvorak were on the same line and I'd pair them two together. They're not even on this. I think they're on the same power play unit, but like Garland skated on the second power play unit today for some reason. So I'm going to watch for their morning skate again too, just to see if some things mix up. So James Neal at 3.4 was on the top power play unit for Edmonton in the last game. So I think he is viable. Jordan Greenway has been playing absolutely insane as well lately. And especially with Fiala out, I think he's just kind of pushed into a bigger role. And Cahoon still skating with Leon Draisaitl, and that second line is viable at 2.9K for sure. So there are some ways, like if you play McDavid and then you play like Neal and then you play like one of the defensemen like Barrie, then you can definitely make something like that work. So, you can get pieces of it without not overcommitting type of thing, but which you might want to overcommit. If they go off, obviously. So it's just going to be hard to hit everything. The stud defenseman, Cale Makar, I think, again, really reliant on McKinnon playing. I just all their players are elevated value when you have somebody as good as him on the ice. Just possession control, high danger chances, all those things really help his teammates. So Dougie Hamilton, 6.6. Like I mentioned him before, great pairing with Aho and Andre, and maybe Jordan Staal or Nino Niederreiter. Darnell Nurse and Tyson Berry. Nurse did actually take more of the time with the second power play unit the last game, but saw more even strength time with McDavid's line, and just is on the ice more typically. But I do think the price difference, probably we'll check back on morning skate again for the Oilers if they skate. And honestly, I'm just going to double check as I'm sitting here. Just I want to see the percentages of what did happen in that game. So, and what's really cool, if you've never used Left Wing Lock, one of my favorite apps for like just checking lines before the game, you can go to. So if we go to Edmonton in the last game, you can go to their power play and go to the most recent game. So in that game, almost the entire game was, and you can even go last 3 games. Like the last 3 games, Nurse has been playing more, but the last game, Barrie played almost the entire time with that first line. And even now seeing here, it said Chiasson actually played some of that top power play time and not James Neal. So, but I don't know that that's completely accurate. I'd have to look at more of their ice times. But in general, it is nice to use left wing lock to be able to look back at who played where in the previous game. So Shea Weber, 5,500, has been in a little bit of a slump, but we know that he's got massive ice time. I think he's just like conceding some of the offense to Petrie, and but Romanov is out. So I don't know. I just think he's too cheap here. Quinn Hughes, I think, is also too cheap. Somebody that is just, top power play unit for Vancouver. I think, even though that they got destroyed tonight, I think that is still a spot that just is going to be a lot of goals scored. And I think that he can benefit from that. Jonas Brodin showed up with the overtime winner against the Avalanche. Even taking out of that goal, I think he has a good floor of shots and block shots. So I really like him, especially with Dumba out. He's just going to play tons of ice time. Same with Brody, same with Spurgeon and Suter. So all those guys are in play. Mike Riley got the top power play unit time with Ottawa since Shabbat is out. So he's fine there at 3.9. I was actually expecting him to play more in general, but I do know they were on the PK a lot. So that would take some time away from him. Gudbranson would be somebody that would benefit the other way, and more PK time, has more chance at block shots for Ottawa. He's okay as well. Brett Pesce, maybe pronounce his name right. Seen an uptick lately in his minutes on ice, like 20 to 25. And he's just a guy that blocks shots and gets shots on goal. So you get that 3 block bonus. And Noah Hampinen at 2.8 is in the second D pairing for Calgary and getting decent icing time that I like. So the value is not as good at defense as it was today with Marino and Joseph and those guys. But even Keandre Miller, there's just a lot more value on that slate. So that's why this is going to be a little bit harder to pay $9K for McDavid. Not that you can't do it, but unless we get some nice value that pops up tomorrow or in the morning here, then it might be difficult. But not saying that you can't use him. Goalie, Reimer against Chicago on the road. I don't usually like paying over 8K for a road goalie, but I do think Chicago puts up enough shots on goal that if he gets the win, even if he concedes 1 or 2, I still think he can get 15 to 20 points. Grubauer at home, I think, is a decent spot here. Again, if McDavid or McKinnon plays, I like him a lot more. If not, he's still going up against the Wild without Fiala, but I prefer McKinnon to play, make me feel more confident in that matchup. Khudobin for Dallas against Columbus. I like here. He is on the road, I believe. So take a little bit of caution with that. Jake Allen at home against Montreal or against Vancouver. Again, you're going to see a lot of goals, but he's going to see a lot of shots on goal as well. I put Khudobin at both spots, but and Allen. Excuse me. Jonathan Quick, 7.7K, is in the matchup down below with Gibson. So I think whoever Gibson is clearly the better goalie. But I think LA is going to come out as a small favorite. But if for some reason those lines move, especially in Gibson's favor, like I think Gibson could be the most popular goalie on the slate, just even given a not that great of an LA team, and you're getting Gibson as a discount. So I like him there. Lankinen. Sorry, I got these prices mixed up here, or the order. Lankinen, I think, is just a GPP or a punt because I think he's going to see 30 to 35 shots on goal from Carolina. So if somehow they squeaked out a win, or he only gave up 1 or 2 goals, which we've seen Carolina do that, like put up 30, 35 shots on goal and only come up with 1 or 2 goals, then he definitely can pay off that price tag. Cam Talbot, I like if McKinnon is out. So kind of that McKinnon news is like, if he's in, I like Grubauer. If he's out, I like Talbot. Line stacks, I don't really need to spend a lot of time on the top one: McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, and then pick Nurse or Barrie. I think both are fine. You could also pair them with any of their other little value plays, whoever is on, like James Neal, Cahoon, Pularvi, whoever's skating with McDavid as that third guy. So the other pay up option I like is Aho, Andre, Shnechnikov, and Stahl or Trocheck, because they're in the power play, and Hamilton. And then if you want, you could sub in Nino instead of Stahl or Trocheck if you just want an even strength stack. Some value I like is Saad, Kadri, and Burakovsky. It's a really nice lower price stack on the second line for Colorado. Obviously, if McKinnon does not skate in the morning, then Kadri likely would move up, or these lines could be mixed up. So make sure to check back on those things. This Montreal stack is not necessarily like value in terms of like below 5K, but I think it's a nice mid-range stack. Suzuki, Toffoli, both correlate really well in the power play. And then you could match them up with Petrie or Weber. And Weber would be more of that mid-range spot, as he's like $1,200 cheaper than Petrie on this slate. So thanks again for listening, guys. Just please give this video a like if you enjoy it. And if not, give me some feedback on some things you'd like to see. And if you have any other lineup questions, who you want to stack, a goalie, value, anything that I missed that you want your question answered, put it in the comments below, and I will make sure I get to that. So thanks a lot. This is Hold the Door DFS at fsidfs.com, and have a good one.